The topic of today. Well, I've been thinking and I thought it was an important thing, but I also feel it's like, should I really do that? And I don't know. I hope you're not offended or thinking that I mean anything with it. Um, but what I want to talk about is sexual preference and in any kind of way. So I am just a person. When I was a little younger in the 90s, we used to say, I am, meaning I exist, and that is beautiful. We did not mean mean things or bad things or crazy things, just that you exist, you're a human, and that is beautiful. Okay. Hi. Today's a topic that's a little different. I would like to talk about sexual preference and mine. I think we are all the same, us humans. We're human beings, and as long as we don't hurt anyone and have the right intentions, we can do whatever we kind of please, don't we? I run into some misunderstanding sometime because I guess maybe because I am brought up in another country than where I am now. Maybe there are other reasons for it. As far as I know, it goes like this. I go out, a local place. I find a classy place so that I feel safe and happy. I sit, I enjoy, and I get to know people a little bit. I don't really have to. It's not my intention. It, of course, is just part of life, and it just happens because you go out. That's how I feel. People often then try to see if you're interested in having, say, a little more of a private thing with them, or try to get your number and then call you, and often, sometimes then, really bad and often continuously about how much they want to know you and how great you are. And when you're over the age of teenager, you know certain things. If a guy says, do you want to see my hotel room? He doesn't mean see my hotel room like that. And you can be very sweet and say, well, look, I really don't mind. I'd love to see your hotel room, but I don't want to have sex with you, if that's what you mean, right? And so it comes to that point that people start then coming around and asking you things that are more towards taking you to some kind of hotel room or apartment or whatever that is. And you might not want to do it, and I usually don't. And this is where the other country comes perhaps in, where I honestly learned that we have the right to say no. And I believe that also goes for New York. Sorry. But I'm not so sure anymore. In any way, I say no for whatever reason. I don't have to explain, but I keep having to. I don't want to explain, but I keep being asked why. And it's a continuous, ongoing thing that goes on forever and ever and ever. It does not stop. I cannot just be apparently a happy single person saying, hey, look, what I then am or learned or like to learn for myself throughout life. I value my body and myself, and I don't want to give it to everybody or anybody. I don't want to. So comes down to it. In Holland you would call it, ik ben een beetje zuinig op mezelf, which basically means I take good care of myself, but then a little more. Like you tuck it away in a little cabinet and lock the door. Like when you have let's say you're a kid, you have a Barbie doll, you stick it somewhere, you lock the little door, you're taking real good care of it, like that. Well, in Holland, that's kind of natural for a girl to say, I don't sleep with everybody, I don't pop my clot for any guy, I lock the little door, And I guess maybe times changed, and maybe I thought it was very classy bar, and maybe it was just not. I don't know. But to come to think of it, I think a lot of people come there from Tinder. So that means they're going to have sex with someone they don't know, right? So I don't know. Maybe they just don't know what else to do with themselves. But I think that if you just don't want to do that and you're just out for some, glass of wine and some entertainment, I would have a Coca-Cola, but I find it probably rude. Maybe something to eat, they probably want you to have something just because you want to go out and mingle without too much of all that. And now comes why I want to record it. Because eventually, when that goes on, people start, I've noticed in America overall, love to just think of things, make up stories. You say you don't really like to go to a fun fair, and before you know it, you're the person that hates fun fairs and really wants them out of town. That is not real. I don't know if you understand that. I often say, and I joke, but I mean it, that it's like people fall from a tree right in society and then start doing things. And if they did, they'd probably be a monkey, and monkeys can be very violent. And so if they pick up a bottle of bleach and find out it hurts, they'll probably start slamming it in your face like so many people here do. And of course, not in the bar where I go and in the area where I live, but if you look up in the bad areas, this is how people live. The shelters were filled with it. Now it's COVID, but before then, that's just regular shelter capacity or something. And I've studied a little and I did some volunteering and I've learned a little, so I think I know. What I'm trying to say is that when you make up all these stories, you're doing the same. You're grabbing something and you're throwing it. It's like that movie. Have you seen it? Oh my God, what was it? Now I forget. Ridiculous, crazy, idiocrazy. I'm not referring to the entire movie. I'm not referring to the beginning. I'm not referring to the end. I'm not referring to the actors. I'm referring to the base where everybody at some point in a moment in time was crazy. And sort of like when you recently all did the pot, there's a day, a year, what is it? It's April 21. So maybe April 20th is for you that one smoke doobie day. And the images that I saw are like worse than idiocrazy. And I'm not being offensive. I mean, you must laugh about it if you're doing that on purpose, right? If you really like that, I'm sorry you ended up like that. But look at them, they're exactly like the movie. And I joked on one of these videos that I found and I said, geez, are these the people that vote, But so when you say that, when I say that, and when I bring it up here, what I mean is that they're just like that movie. They run around there and fight and argue and kill and, destroy people who make no mistake and do nothing wrong because they're idiocrazy. And that seems to be a little real, don't you think? I mean, honestly, if you really haven't said one word wrong and people just make up a whole world of lies all together like idiocrazy, then I do refer to the context of the movie, then that's just idiocrazy. Anyway, the stories are what I'm referring to. So I'm in a public place. I generally just go out. I just want to have a nice time. I want to go home. Bye-bye. If nothing would have been like I'm explaining it now, talk about sex or talk about going to that hotel room in other words all the time, then I would have never even thought like this, and maybe I would have met a nice guy at a time, right? But at this moment, obviously, all you want to say is, listen, lady, I told you, I don't want that, okay? Because there are also women that try. And so what I was going to say is that that story becomes a thing, a life. And before you know it, it gets so offensive. So it starts with this little, just normal guy that works at the bar, and he serves drinks. And when you meet him, you're nice. Thank you. It is so nice. Okay, bye. And he wants your number because he wants to be friends with everybody. And then he starts to go and come on to you about me, but the general, what he likes and loves about it. And you go, oh God, here we go. Look, I'm sorry, you reply, but I don't want to know you in that way. Do you know the feeling? I really appreciate you and I want to be friends, but please, no, not like that. And then comes the problem when he does not let go. And he does not stop. And the texts come in and again, baby, and I like you and I love you. You're so nice, you're so nice. And you go, no, 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 in every text. And then finally at some point, I have been honest enough to say, look, because he said, God, I think you're so nice and I think you're so cute. And I said something like, look, I don't care at all what you think, okay? Just leave me alone. And then he went away, but created a revenge. Now all kinds of little problems came up, like I won't serve you, it will take long before you get your food or your drink, or talks started. And so what I was going to complete the whole story with is that everybody in the bar now wanted to know when and with who I was going to have sex. It was just going to be a blown up, horrifying thing. And I'm glad that I'm a really tough person, girl. I think a normal other person, like a younger girl or a more insecure girl, would have cried. And I've seen some people cry in that bar too. One lovely young lady said, and I'm so sad. And why? Because I'm not good enough. And I'm like, why would you say that? Because I'm fat. And she was just maybe like me. And she told me she was a lovely girl. She worked at Disney. She had the greatest job. Everybody loved her, but she just couldn't go out and have a good time because people just wouldn't accept her because she was overweight. And that also came up, and also with me, more and more I had to hear about how much I was overweight, and at some point even I didn't maybe they didn't say a right, but I shouldn't really go out if I was fat, the same as a girl. And I just brought her up because she really cried, and that was heartbreaking. And you know how it goes when people really start hurting themselves. Sometimes it goes wrong and you'll never see them again because they'll commit suicide. And I'm not saying that to hurt anybody. This is still a story that I want to tell without being awful about it. Anyway, then comes the part that, oh, now I have to be a lesbian. And I have to say, I don't really mind that. I mean, not the story that they're bringing, but the homo or lesbian thing. What is it really? It doesn't matter. If you want to have happiness and choose a person, and as long again as you're doing the right thing and you're happy and you don't hurt anybody, then you should just go ahead and do it, right? So obviously weird things are not what I'm referring to, but if you want to be a lesbian, just have fun and do it. Who cares? It seemed, however, that either they thought that I was going to be really hurt if they did that, or they thought that I was really a lesbian and I just would not admit it. And if that were the case, then I would have been shy about it, or worried about it, or hateful about it, or something like that. You know, the old types from maybe, God, the 80s, where people would be afraid to come out and say that they really like people from their own sex. Well, I don't have that problem either. And I'm glad I'm not like going to cry about it like the other sweet younger girl. Um, but yeah, that was very annoying too. And it had, however, taken so much time that I was at a moment that I just said, you know what, whatever. I really appreciate you. I really don't want to, but you never know. And guess what? It went away. It stopped. And after that, because I didn't give any attention and I didn't really do it, I think because of that, the person started putting up really hard fights, started screaming very loud and making a real big horse ass out of herself. And I thought, I don't know what this is. I told her, look, after she stopped screaming, I don't know what you're doing, but you have to take a step back. Just, here for a nice time. So you just have to be that person that works here and treats me nice, and that's it. You can just serve drinks, period. And then she stepped away, and after that, we never really talked again. But yeah, I had been really nice with her. I was gonna say everything. In a pandemic time, the streets were all empty and you were not really allowed to go out, but you were if you had to get your medicine or something to eat or drink or toilet paper. So I went out and got my toilet paper and my this and my that. And I found little places that through the wall still had coffee. Open a window, here's the coffee. It wasn't much, but it happened. And it was fantastic to me. And I would always do it and then talk to the people. I'm alone. I don't have a family. For me, it was just also important to look what would go on, how many cars would go around. It was just horrible with all the cars with the bodies. Let's not remind ourselves of that. But so I was out a lot. And I saw it build back up with the little restaurants opening open seatings and then having the coffees there. I would just grow along. And at some point, the window went open at the bar I'm referring to. And I tried to get something and I didn't have it and I forgot about it and went on. But then another time I sat down and had a drink and then got to talk. And during this time where I did that, I would always be so happy to see somebody maybe. We would discuss things like how it was, how are your family members, did you lose people or are they still alive? And gosh, it's so great that we're all still alive. We're here, look at us, we're sitting at restaurants, this is so good. All kinds of things come up during conversations like that. And I would always say she looked fantastic and good and look at you go, because honestly, she was a little older and she wore these little skirts that were way too high, but she also had these spiky old legs. And I wouldn't really want to say, I would never say what I thought was, well, good for her, way to go. And that's totally my mentality, right? We're all human beings. This is great. So I told her that, and maybe I just gave her the wrong signal, But then again, if you don't want it, you should have a choice, and you shouldn't run into fights, and you shouldn't run into people calling you and texting you all the time, or not serving you any more food or beverages, or going around with all the other people looking at you and laughing at you because you don't get served. It sort of becomes a huge bully session over nothing. And I guess that's why I brought in that idiocrazy stuff, because that's just idiocrazy, right? You can't even have a nice evening out anymore then, can you? But okay, so what do I really think about it for me? You now know what I think about it publicly. Well, I tried it, and the first time I tried it, I was very young. I think I was 21. And we had a lot of drinks, and we were cleaning up. We worked at a tanning studio, and her nail polish fell, and so we had to clean that up with some well, stuff that's very high on chemicals. And so we were all like woozy and we're having laughs and we were crazy. And so when we were home at her home, this and that might have happened with, I believe, a cucumber. And I don't think we had a bad time, but I didn't specifically really want it or not want it. It was more or less something that just happened. And later I thought, oh, I better stay away. And that was because I didn't want her to get into it more, because I was not mature enough to say, I'm sorry, we had a lovely time, but I don't want to do this again, you know? And instead, I said something like it, but then I was a little like, ooh, there she comes. I was, you know, what you can have with someone you had something with. Oh, what's going on now? You know, let's press the phone off. And I think that was mostly because I didn't really want that. But I don't really think about it. It happened again with a much more matured period in my life, where, again, I don't recall much of what happened this time because someone had a great happy pill. But I have less negative memories, and actually I appreciated it. Would I do it again? Well, maybe with her. Sorry, not with you. And that's the whole idea. And also, it doesn't mean I don't like men. And they will probably say, but you always say you don't like this or that. And then, you know, honestly, the roughest, creepiest, unwashed or selfish or insane person comes, and I say person, sit next to you and try to hook up to you. And I hate his tongue, his look, his, you know, I mean, his mouth, his words, I mean, everything about him. And then I could almost dive into this whole social change that we've had, where, you know, men seem to think that they are men. If they are rude, a bully, they beat people up, they walk a little like that, they sit a little like that, and now they are men. They scream, they yell, they spit, they vomit, so now they are men. Are they? Well, it's just how that all changed socially. If you look at years ago when I wasn't even there, men were dancers without being what you now say, forcefully say, gay. You don't have to be gay because you dance. You do not have to be gay because you dance. You are a human being, and the rest is up to you. It's not that all these people are in charge. But they changed that when they changed the whole word. The word gay used to mean happy. Did you even know that? And that's around the time that the people that were dancing were also men and didn't have to be gay, like you now call it homosexual. And so, you know, yeah, I like men, but as humans, and not as my partner, unless I really like men as my partner. And that's where we're going with this story. I decide who I fuck or not. And I don't have to be in trouble for that, no matter what. So basically, that's it. I don't like you. I'm not going to go out with you. We're not going to go to your hotel room. We're not going to go to your whatever place. We're not going to look at your car. We're not going to do anything. And if I like you, maybe we will. But I doubt it. As long as I'm heavily overweight, I don't feel like sex at all. Have a great time. Bye.